looking at it now, but thank you, Councilwoman Shereen. Pro Tem Carter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I went through this operation, and the charter does provide for the city to declare emergency. It's actually up to the mayor or up to the Department of Public Works to declare. And the city did not fulfill its obligation for the electrical failure. It did not provide the residents' health, safety, and welfare when it came to the flood. Those were not historical floodings. It is not necessary to go to the county. The city has the wherewithal to contact the federal government to get any means necessary, monies or assistance to provide for this. This act that I read from the county does not even allow, it allows the city to get involved into this emergency operation, but it doesn't say anywhere where the city gets released from the operation once it's given to the county. I think somebody else needs to go through this plan and read it in total. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anybody else from council? Okay. All right. What's the pleasure of the body?
Mr. President, until the information that has been requested forthcomes, we can defer this until all the information that was asked is presented to us.
All right. The motion to defer.
Mr. President,
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Madam Mayor?
may I ask what is information that is requested? I'm not sure what you were asking for. Everything is completely filled out in accordance with the rules. So if we have our DPW department, which is taking the leads on getting it prepared, would you let them know what you're asking for? Otherwise, they won't know what your directions are on how to fulfill that.
Yeah, I definitely will, Madam Mayor. One of the things, though, if you go to page, I guess, 4, which is the record of distribution, the recipients, even naming the legislative body who the recipients of this information will be to go through is not spelled out in our plan. The only person that is actually listed here is the fire chief from Waterford. So just as one point, and I will also get the other information to the DPW so they can have it. But there is a motion on the floor to defer this for 2 weeks. So any city council discussion?
Mr. President? Yes. I was going to bring up again for all the people in Pontiac that were harmed from the DTE. Still, it was up to the mayor or up to Oakland County, and it should have been the mayor himself to go ahead and issue, because our residents have suffered from harm for over 7 days without electricity, loss of food, water. The city residents are not eligible for any FEMA funds because the city planning did not declare itself as an emergency. So it just so happened out of 61 cities in Oakland County, White Lake and Southfield were the only 2 that deemed that they needed an emergency. Thank you, Mr. President. This is just their elected duty at that harm.
Yeah. So any other discussion? Seeing none, to defer for 2 weeks. Roll call.
Waterman,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Petola,
Yes.
Shramsky, Taylor Burks.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Okay, that brings us to public comments. President Pro Tem Carter.
First up would be Leslie Stanley. And on deck would be Ms. Tamika Ramsey.
Hello, I am Leslie Stanley, and I am a resident of Pontiac. And over the years, I have come here talking about things that have happened to me at the Oakland County Jail. I had a blog about it. I blogged about some people in this room. I blog about everything. So people told me to write a book about it. So I wrote a book about it. This is called Jail. It's spelled J-E-L-L, like hell. But it's my book that I self-published, and it's all about what I went through at Oakland County Jail. It's been out for a while now. I don't know why I didn't have the wherewithal to come here and introduce my book to the city of Pontiac, because it pertains to the young women that live in this city and the young men. But the women are most vulnerable. We need to get ourselves in the mindset that these people are doing wrong instead of just washing over the situation at hand. It's been 11 years now, and it's still going on. I have young women who chase me down the street because they feel that I'm doing them harm, because if they can't do what they do, they'll go to prison. But they do society harm because they're committing crimes against our citizens and they're going to jail and nothing's happening to them. So they feel they can commit crimes, get out, commit crimes, and get out. That's not fair. And another thing, we have a lot of the women that I've seen in there are dead. They don't get adequate treatment, adequate time in jail to clean themselves up. They come right back out on the street and start the same type of behavior that eventually kills them. And it's true. And I just want whoever has ever told me to keep going and to write a book to know that I've written a book. And it's all true. There's no lies in here. All the cussing and everything is the truth. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tamika Ramsey, and on deck will be Ms. Julia Ruffin.
Good evening, everyone. So one, I would just like to ask Councilman Carter, since I'm in your district, what will be the follow-up to the lack of FEMA being activated? As you know, and your wife know, I was one of the families that were out power for 6 days. And so I would like to know, like, what can we do and what can other people do who are still trying to pay for medication that expired, that are still trying to rebuild from not having power for so long. And I am also coming as a resident and as a small business owner in the city of Pontiac. There was an email that went out, we all know, on Tuesday of last week that was very classist and racist. I addressed the email in maybe a not so professional manner because I was very frustrated. But the conversation needs to happen. Pontiac is not Afghanistan. The residents of Pontiac are not refugees, nor are they terrorists. The bus stop needs to be cleaned. We need to take better care of our city. But we also need to respect the residents, no matter what color they are, no matter their class. And so I have heard and seen emails from the mayor asking Tim Grimel and Alexandria Riley to respond. Yeah, I have not heard anything from the mayor. And so I am asking, as the current mayor of the city that leased a really big piece of property to this business owner, can you tell us how you feel? There were people that are in your administration copied of the 10 people that Bob Wine directly sent that email to. What does that mean for the residents whose tax dollars pay the salaries of these people? I was watching the city council meeting yesterday because I didn't see it last week. And closing comments used to be council and mayor responding, answering questions. And y'all don't do that no more. Not all of y'all. Some of y'all do. But it's like, when did y'all stop serving the residents? And when I say y'all, I don't want to blanket because we have some people who do respond. But y'all get up there with y'all own agendas, not addressing what the residents have asked for. And so we come here week after week looking for responses. And I just want to know, when did y'all stop working for us and we started working for y'all? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you, Ruffin? And Eric Hallman on deck.
Good evening, Pontiac, Honorable Mayor and Council. I am piggybacking off of some of the communication that Ms. Ramsey shared. I was very disturbed when I learned of the email. I had previously went to the area where the bus stop is, which is deplorable, and I don't know how that is able to continue to be the way it is, but it is, and we've got to do something about that. But I just want to say, Pontiac is not Afghanistan. The people here are not the Taliban. We're a proud community, right? We work hard in this community. And I think anybody that calls themselves a business person, I look at business people as being leaders or community activists, they need to reflect that. Whether this was private or public communication, the fact that you even refer to us in that manner is disgraceful. Now, the conversation needs to be had. It needs to be a public forum, potentially. I saw where they even had a charrette, because we have a division in the city as far as business and community, neighborhood, where we can sit down and come up with some solutions. I don't know the man's heart, but he needs to say something, because this is ridiculous. Let them have beans while we make money. That's not right. I don't believe a person would invest money in a community if they didn't see some value in it. So show us your heart. Thank you.
Eric Coleman, and on deck will be Makaya Goodman. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Eric Holman, and I'm also speaking about the email. I'm representing Pontiac United. When a member of Pontiac United in the building, please stand. We come for you today in the observance of a moment of unsilence. We feel far too often our elected officials are practiced at being silent and turn their heads to the plight of the people who elected them. Today, we come before you asking that you acknowledge us, that you hear our voices and understand that we matter. In the past, we've done this with knees on our necks, and hoses on our backs, and even dogs at our heels. So we feel like today, we deserve accountability. We feel the city of Pontiac should be ran by people of Pontiac, and more importantly, for the people of Pontiac. So when someone from outside of Pontiac comes in our city with a major investment and they akin us to terrorists and trash, we look to you, our elected officials, to be our voices. We look for you, our elected officials, to hold these people accountable. We like today to say that we stand with Oakland Ford and the Black Women's Round Table. We request that you do something more than settle for an apology. We ask that you do action against the people who made these grotesque and heinous claims about our city. We feel like a Pontiac of action is always the Pontiac United. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mikhail Goodman. And first of all, thank you for everyone that came out to show the support for the task that we have before us today. And let's be very clear, that task is extremely simple. We are here to take the important step to remove racism from our city. People who view us as nothing more than a way to line their own pockets do not deserve our business. They do not deserve our money, and they certainly do not deserve our respect. This is not just some random man who posted problematic opinions on Facebook. This is not petty, and this is not small. Bob Wan owns property in this city. He has been grabbing every piece of pint that he can get his hands on. And why? Because he wants to turn Pontiac into a place that can make him an even richer person. He did not come here to help the people like you and me who live here. He came in to take what he can and push us out. And that is why his words matter. His opinions shared in this email have likely been shared many times before this email has come to light. And it shows his true intentions. And those intentions are to exploit and line his pockets at the expense of our citizens. Let us believe that this will not stop through his own personal will. Yesterday's rally and today's city council comments are just a single step. We will be at bus stops, we will be in meetings, we will be in front of businesses, in newspapers, and on television, every chance that we get until every scrap of racism is removed from our city. I am formally and passionately asking that the mayor and city council stand with us against this racism. This is your job. A parasite has come into our home, profited off of our neighbors and our families, and then spoke about us as if we are the scum of the earth. And that we are not. We are a beautiful, diverse, strong, loud, fierce group of people who will command respect. If this group of elected officials refuses to stand by our side against blatant racism, you should not be in these offices. Do your jobs, or let someone else who is willing do it for you. And I stand in solidarity with every person who stood up before me.
Ms. Alexander Riley? And H. Bill Maxey on deck.
Madam Mayor, Council President.
Yeah, before you get started. Just got a question from IT. Is this being streamed on Pontiac TV? Also, they said they can only see it on Facebook. It's on both platforms.
Right? It's not?
It's not on the website? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Riley.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Council President, Council, Mr. Clerk, residents of the city of Pontiac. My name is Alexandria T. Riley, and I am here today to take the opportunity to thank all of those that came out yesterday and those that are here today in protest to Bob Wan and the derogatory email that was sent out with regard to Pontiac residents. It was both unacceptable and it will not be tolerated in the city of Pontiac, especially when this person is the largest private partner with the city of Pontiac. I'm calling on all of our leadership to act, to completely divest in any type of partnership and any type of continued partnership with Mr. Wan. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Mika Ramsey, who courageously stepped forward and initially responded to that email. And she, along with other leaders, Council President, Oakland Forward, Tracy Hirsch, Pontiac United, along with Black Women's Roundtable, for organizing yesterday's protests. We have a long history of civil rights in this community. Civil rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now is the time for a new generation to step forward and to stomp out bigotry and racism wherever it rears its ugly head. Thank you.
Mr. Mark, they still say that it's black on Pontiac TV, and it's not on the website either.
Sorry? Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Melanie Rutherford?
Good evening, Council, to the community. Education is the passport to the future for tomorrow, and it belongs to those who prepare for it today. In 2017, I had a daughter who was a senior at West Bloomfield. And as we started the journey, I started to buy her 3 things. Number 1, I bought her an all-in-one MacBook Pro. Number 2, I paid for her to take these classes called the Princeton Review. And the third thing is that I invited her to go to an event that changed her life called Infinite Scholars. So it got me to thinking, now that she's gone, what can I do with all the talents I have about finding scholarships? So I decided that any student who lives in District 1 can receive the following things. I have here in my hand 7 vouchers for 7 students who live in District 1 to receive over $1,000 worth of tutoring for the Princeton Review. The second thing is I'll be giving away 7 all-in-one Mac computers to any senior who lives in District 1. And thirdly, I had a private backpack event, and I'm stuck with these $500 backpacks. So if you live in District 1 and you are a senior and you want to attend college and you want to be college ready, all you have to do to get the backpack and the all-in-one MacBook Pro and to get this voucher is to call me at 248-390-0591. The most important part is this event. I gave it to all the council members, but this is for anybody who has a senior that's trying to go to college. On October the 14th, there is an Infinite Scholar on-site admission to over 450 colleges. The reason why this is important is because of this event, my daughter received over $2.5 million in scholarships that day. I think it's important that we show children in this community that if given the opportunity to be prepared and to be college ready, they can actually achieve whatever goal they have, if it's college and or going to a trade school. The most important things about these vouchers is, let's say they don't want to go to school today. They have up to a year. There's no strings attached. All you have to do is live in District 1 and call me by Thursday, and I will drop you off a $1,799 computer, because those are the 3 things that have prepared my daughter, who is now a senior at Howard University. Again, my phone number is 248-390-0591. And if you can't reach me on my phone, my email is MelanieRutherford13. That's MelanieRutherford13@gmail.com, because I want all students in the city of Pontiac to be college ready. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have now closing comments. Mayor Waterman.
I will divert what I was going to talk to this evening to address the imperative issue that is at hand, and that is, in racism in any form is intolerable. This is a diverse community. I have been against racism and have spoke for it, have marched forward against it, and it's intolerable. So I will speak to that. But I also want to remember that the fact that the people at that smart bus station deserve to be served, deserve protection, deserve a clean way of transportation. Many of them depend upon that transportation, and we need to remember them. So this argument started up when someone didn't want it next to their building downtown. And I say, well, whose building should it be next to? The most important thing to remember is that we owe a service to the people who depend upon transportation from that smart bus. Now, that I have spoken to that loud and clear several times, and that email chain has been going on for a week. Tamika, as you mentioned, go back and read some of my comments. I won't have time in 3 minutes to speak definitively on that, but I've made my point loud and clear on that. But one of the things we need to do is to make sure that everybody who uses that transportation that SMART provides has a way to safe, secure, clean, well-lit. And I've reminded SMART that they're responsible for making sure that that is well cleaned. It is the traffic hub, and with the frequent the volume of transportation, the volume of people that go through there, they need to clean that daily. And if they don't have the capacity to do it, I reached out and said, contract with the city, we'll take care of it, all right? So that's what we want to remember. That's what I'm pledged to do, to serve the people who need to use that form of transportation, and also to make sure that that is the primary concern that we work with. And certainly, we want to be, as a diverse community, to respect one another. I will do that. I will speak for that in all purposes. And let's continue to work together in a collaborative way to make sure that this is a great community that it can and should be.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I just want to remind everybody it's time to vote again. Absentee ballots will begin to mail them out on Monday. That's September 20th. Again, you can start in-person absentee voting in the clerk's office on Monday, September 20th. We are open from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sharansky.
Well, I thought that was disgusting, that email. I didn't see it until towards the end of the week, and I made my comments immediately. I was at the rally yesterday and I stand by what I said. Now, I don't know the legalities of divesting ourselves or reversing the deal. But I will say that he did have a memorandum of understanding with us. And if indeed we can't divest ourselves and reverse that deal, we need to ask for everything we can. Reparations, compensation, those remarks were just awful. I've lived here for generations. Don't tell me I've been living in excrement, for decades. He's offered business incubators. Well, you better offer a lot more than that. I expect to see some atonement if we indeed can't do anything about what he owns. And what I said yesterday is we might not be able to untangle that mess, but start citing him right now because he has some derelict and substandard buildings, and so do some of these other business owners. What started off as a legitimate conversation about the condition of the bus stop just veered way off into racism, classism, everything you've heard. It's just disgusting. And that's pot calling the kettle black, that old saying. Oh, well, what are you going to do about the bus station? Well, what are you going to do about your property? Because I've been hearing for months from people who have rented from you, who've been tenants, and people have just been in your buildings that are vacant and what they look like. So fix them. If we demand this of our residents who barely have the money to afford to fix their houses, why aren't we demanding of these big time investors in our city? And that's what I have to say for now. Thank you.
Councilwoman Pedala.
Mr. President, I haven't seen a copy of the email from Bob Wan. I haven't talked to anybody. Nobody has talked to me about it, let's put it that way. I did see Tracy's invitation to attend last night's event. However, it was 8 o'clock in the morning when I seen it, and then the weather changed. And I did have another responsibility. I wasn't able to make it. Bob Wan has sent me friend requests before on Facebook. I have refused them. He has offered to sit down and talk. I refused that. In 2012, one of the deputies that I'm a friend with had a friend who rented from Bob Wan, and he did a tattoo shop. He was on Pike Street, right there by the alley on Wayne. And we went down, we looked at it, and there was a lot of there were a lot of violations that needed to be corrected. He wanted the tenant to correct them. I believe the tenant moved out. And it may have been that he had to break his lease to move out because Bob had him on a long lease. But it was a long lease and he wanted repaired. I had a friend in Birmingham who had a small business who used to praise Bob Wan. Like I told her, he's not for Pontiac. I have nothing to say to him. They wanted me to meet with him. That was back in 2012. And she sold the business. I had no intentions of speaking with Mr. Wan. I have no intentions of speaking with Mr. Wan now because what we're doing here and how we're talking about Mr. Wan is giving Mr. Wan attention and credit. Is that what we want to do? Is to talk about how bad this man is, but at the same time, he's the focus that we're talking about. And that I don't want to do. Ms. Ramsey, you mentioned closing comments and how we didn't address them last week. We don't address closing comments during study sessions. We never have during the 10th term. We only respond to those during our formal meeting. Because on the study session, in this case, I believe it was Pro Tem that closed the meeting out last week. We adjourn the meeting as soon as business is over with. And we don't usually vote on business. We usually discuss business. And that's when we call for the adjournment. So this is the night. This is every other week. We have closing comments at the formal meeting. So we wouldn't have addressed it last week. Thank you very much, everybody. You have a good night. Be safe.
Councilwoman Taylor Burks.
President,
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, I have something that I want to say. My oldest daughter has been in the hospital, very, very ill, in Bloomfield. I received a phone call on a Sunday morning from two people that lives here, and one of them is here, playing on the phone. They called me and they said to me, Doris, they're getting ready to throw your daughter out of the hospital. Where you gonna put her in a basket? And started laughing. I was so upset, I lost my mind. I wasn't even thinking. I couldn't even think of the name of the hospital. I couldn't think of anything. I was just walking around my house crying and praying. And finally I called someone, one of my friends, and she said, you need to calm down because you know that the hospital doesn't do things like that. She said, and whoever the persons was that called you, they should be ashamed of themselves. And she should be ashamed of herself, both of them, because they're grown women. My daughter is now at her place where she lives, and she's doing very fine. And I thank God for that. I just, people like that, I try to stay away from because they're no good. They're no good at all. Just leave me alone. And I know how to handle myself, and I know how to run my battles because I pray every morning and every night. So, if you can't do great things, you can do small things in a great way. Thank you.
Councilwoman Walton.
Good evening, and thank you, Mr. President. You know, today is an eye-opener for all of us that are sitting here today. We can see what racism truly is all about. We have allowed an outsider to come into our city and take over and then tell us that we are Afghanistans and that we deserve beans because we're trying to take care of a bus stop that all of us or some of our family members use on a daily basis. You know, when I opened up my email and I saw that thread going back and forth, I got sick. I got sick at heart, and then I got infuriated because I was ready to go out and do something that I know I shouldn't have done. I was ready to fight, and we should be ready to fight for what's right. And I'm so happy to see all you young people here today standing up for your rights, because we will not allow this kind of cancer, because this is a cancer that has invaded our city, and we're not going to allow that. I'm sorry I was not at your event yesterday. I had a family matter that I had to deal with, but please know that you have my total support. I will do whatever it takes to rid this kind of destruction from our city, because this person is living here and financially he's making money off of this city that he wants to degrade. Take your ass back down to Birmingham. So know today, as I stated before, you have my total support, and good night.
Again, we do not participate in profanity at the council meetings, but I do understand your heart. Councilwoman Miller.
I'm going to come at this from a different take because I know about battles in the city of Pontiac. Maybe probably many of you were at home. I have walked the street from one end of the city to the other when the emergency manager was here. You talk about slavery, it was slavery then. You couldn't even talk. You couldn't even come down and have a complaint. You had no voice. We walked, we prayed, we cried, we fought. And I look forward for you young people to take this over because the fight is always going to continue. It's not going to stop. It's always going to be a fight. And I'm going to say this, it may be popular, unpopular, but it is true. You have to look at it. When somebody comes in your home, you let them in. We let them in here. And let's be honest, a lot of them know what he was doing. We got to be honest about it. That's one thing I say. You know, I tell my mother, I say, you may be wrong, but I'm just going to tell the truth. We let them in here. This man owned a lot here. It's going to be hard to get rid of him because he owns a lot, because we allowed him to own a lot. We have to hold some of the, and me, I can say, Part 1 and the Phoenix Center, I had no intention of voting for that mess. God gave me a gift. I can see when people ain't right. It just, especially when it come to my people in Pontiac, I really ain't going with it. What happened to my brother keeper? We got to watch each other because at the end of the day, it's all about money, people. I know you mean well, but it's about money. And the fight continues from this day and for every day. Because I'm going to step down one day, but you got to keep going because we always going to be in the struggle. But know this. You got to know one thing. We are at fault a little bit of this ourselves because we brought them in here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Miller. Pro Tem Carter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't want to be long-winded, but it looks like I have to go backwards. I did not receive that email. My name wasn't on it, but I just was forwarded a copy, and I looked at the string of names on it. I see most of my council members were on it. President was on it. I mean, a lot of people on this list. It looks like there's about at least 200 people. 138. Okay, I'm just looking at it. But I just scanned through it to see what the highlights were, and I can agree. The bus stop, it was racist. The bus stop itself, I just made a note of it. We moved it 6 times. It's city property. We couldn't move it any time we wanted to. But as a member of the city, for some reason, we put up with all the DS that went down in front of Phoenix. I just wrote down that it was next to railroad tracks. It was in front of the police station, in front of the Fairlawn Center, in front of McLaren, and then we moved it in front of the Phoenix Center. For some reason, it appears that the city must like trifling mess because it was only necessary to contact code enforcement, and if someone in code enforcement was to react, then the departments within the city should react, and it would have been moved. But the same problem we have with the bus stop and the slander we got and the racism is the same thing we have with planning. It's the same thing we have with our zoning department. It is infiltrated throughout the city. It's within the city government itself, and no, we do not operate, and no, we cannot literally contact any department within the city. The way the charter is written, everybody works for the executive side. So there's very little we can do. We can't go out and make demands, but we do write emails and letters. Next of all, I would have mentioned to Mr. Meeker, and yes, you are one of my residents. I would ask for everyone that comes down to City Hall, since we always seem to have technical problems whenever there's a heated discussion coming up. So I would ask everybody to please bring computer and memory, write down whatever you want to say, and please deliver it to the 10 of us. That way there's no lip service. That way you have physically demanded that you want and warrant a response from your government. As elected official, I will respond to any and every email, letter, text, and I respond promptly to everyone. Ms. Hurst, you have my number on speed dial. You contact me and we get things done. But I would ask every resident or non-resident to write the letter to every council member, to the mayor, to the city attorney, when you go to the podium, pass about, we have been served, so that we will have to deal with the DS when the technical service comes out. Going back, Ms. Ramsey, you asked about the power failure. I can go back on that one. We needed a letter from the city to go ahead to have emergency services restored. I mean, so that you could get paid. So that your insurance could go through. The state of Michigan could not give anyone any money. FEMA could not declare Pontiac as a disaster because it took a letter from the mayor or it took one from the county exec. Also, you could obviously have one from the Department of DPW. Whatever the hindrance is, our health, safety, and welfare, we were neglected again. So there were 5,500 people in Pontiac without electrical power for over 7 days, and it'll only take a redress. I did contact Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who physically contacted me and said that she made multiple calls to the city of Pontiac and no one answered the phone. So I'm just putting it out there because I ain't trying to get nasty. It's just the way it's the way stuff happens here. So there was no FEMA declaration of emergency. I told you about the email. Going back, Ms. Rutherford, I was going to mention about this, and just in case, and sorry, Mr. President, I have to go there. It is necessary for every male, especially in Pontiac, that's 18 to 26 to sign up for selective service. If you do not, you are not eligible for any federal money, any scholarships, any Pell Grants. I notice when people talk about the Promise Zone, the first thing you have to do for the Promise Zone, you have to be financially able to send a letter out. If you didn't sign up for the draft, and in 2005, Jennifer Granholm made it that when you get your driver's license, you have to check the box that you want your selective service to be enacted.
That's your time.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Yeah, no, that's your time, sir.
Therefore, all right, I won't have a mutiny today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. If you were at the rally yesterday, please stand to your feet. This is Pontiac. Y'all can sit down now. I only got 2.5 more minutes. But this is Pontiac. These are the people of Pontiac. Pontiac is the most diverse city in Oakland County, which makes us one of the most diverse cities in the world. We don't have a race issue here. What we have is we have people that want to profit off of us, but don't care about the people. And so the fact that people won't say Bob Wan's name is a systematic problem that we need to stomp out. But the bigger problem was his friends were on that email, and they didn't say anything. It took it being sent and leaked out because somebody on that thread was upset. And this is how they talk about Pontiac every day. I don't care about the private industry that Bob Wan owns. What I care about is the 99-year lease that we gave him for the Phoenix Center that we paid for with our tax dollars, altogether over $45 million. And he can talk about us eating beans and says that we live in a hellhole and we can enjoy it. The point that I'm trying to make to the people of Pontiac, and I'm asking the mayor, we had both mayoral candidates at the rally yesterday, so I'm thankful for that. We have a sitting mayor, and what I would ask is a complete divestment from any Phoenix Center property. If Dan Gilbert did the same thing that Bob Wan did, Detroit would have turned over everything. And so the fact that we're only upset when it's convenient is a problem. They didn't just come up with calling us Taliban in Afghanistan overnight. This is a term they probably use between each other every day. And I bet you if we FOIA the emails right now, it would be a whole lot worse things that were said because the person who leaked it left their comments out. I'm gonna say that again. The person who leaked it left their comments out. And so I'm not upset with Bob Wan. I'm upset with the city that has created an environment of bacteria that allows him to thrive. What we can do with that is make sure that no more tax dollars go toward racism. And Madam Mayor, you can make that happen. That man invested a little less than $6 million altogether for that property that he's selling 2 of the towers for $5 million apiece. So we can give him his money back and tell him to leave the city because that's what needs to happen. We have no place for race in the city of Pontiac. And I think if we want to do something good with our Biden bucks, we should move out the races and make sure that that building is culturally sensitive for all the citizens of Pontiac because I don't want to pay $5 in parking to go toward feeding the racists. So thank you and good night. I'm going to turn this meeting at 6:51.